So honestly, another question I wanted to ask you guys about this is, what did you guys think of the hires of the Bernie 2020 campaign? Briana Joy Gray, Faiz Shakir is the campaign chair. There was a lot, if you read like the Politico reports that go like deep into the behind the scenes stuff about all of what was going on, it's questionable about some of the decisions that they made. Brianna Joy Gray was really sparking a lot of fights on Twitter, just a lot of different stuff. Generally speaking, what did you guys think of it? Or if you have some thoughts on specific ones, obviously, feel free to share. But what are some of your thoughts on maybe the hires that he made? Was it doomed from the start?
Mike, you want to start?
Yeah, I don't think it was doomed from the start. I think that a lot of the hires were questionable. But the biggest one that I didn't like was Jeff Weaver. Jeff Weaver is someone who has known Bernie Sanders for a very long time, and it was a hire based on loyalty. But if you read some of what the staffers said about 2016, they didn't like Jeff Weaver. There was, I believe, like a sort of walkout at Our Revolution because they didn't like Jeff Weaver. So to have Jeff Weaver again when he's kind of this toxic entity, I think that's a bad mistake. And he's kind of been a mainstay in progressive politics for a while. I believe that Nina Turner even had him in her campaign. So some of these people who have worn out their effectiveness, I think that you've got to disregard, and you've got to be, unafraid to shake things up. In terms of like Briana Joy Gray and Faiz Shakir, I don't really have anything negative to say about their performance. I don't necessarily know, what they could have done differently. I think that Faiz Shakir, for the most part, was better than Jeff Weaver was as a campaign manager. Briana Joy Gray, I think that she, even if she was pretty rowdy on Twitter, I actually think that that can be effective because I want someone to be aggressive. So if she's fighting against these celebrities that are, attacking Bernie Sanders, I don't necessarily view that as a bad thing. Now, I don't know what it takes to make a good communications director or, a PR person for a campaign. I don't really know. That's not my area of expertise. But I actually liked that Briana Joy Gray was pretty fiery. I think that you need someone who's going to really vehemently advocate for the cause, and she was a true believer, and I think that actually worked out to Bernie's advantage. But in terms of like the intricacies of her job, I really couldn't speak to that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. In terms of the aggressiveness, I have no issue with that. And it's hard for me to really, say who was a good hire, who was a bad hire without actually being on the campaign and knowing the ins and outs of who was doing what and who's responsible for what. I mean, I think some of the points you make, Sahil, about the ads, I think that's correct. Who knows who's making those decisions? I think the ads in 2016, especially that one ad, that I think was his first ad that Bernie put out, was hit on an emotional level that I think the ads in 2020 didn't, even though I think some of the ads in 2020 were effective for me. They were informative. I think they broke down, I know at least one or two broke down some of the influence that money has on politics. I think that's good. It's good to put that in an ad. But it didn't hit on an emotional level the way that Bernie's ads in 2016 did. And I think they missed an opportunity there with that. But in terms of the hires, it's hard for me to know without actually, having been on the campaign.
Yeah, because the hires was definitely an interesting one. The Bernie campaign did go away from a guy named, I think Mark Longabaugh was the guy who was their ad run guy back in 2016. He decided not to go with him. I thought that was actually a bad idea because I thought he did a really good job running ads and all of that kind of stuff. And it was just some interesting hires going on. A lot of the reports going into depth about who exactly, because who's making these campaign decisions? Bernie is not the one making all of these campaign decisions. He's got a campaign staff that's, heavily impacting this, if not just outright running it. Who's making the decisions on where to run ads or what articles to write or what things to say. So it's just interesting to see what was going on in there. And maybe that's something we need to look at.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we can segue into the next topic I want to talk about. Next topic I wanted to talk about is who do you guys think is going to be the next progressive candidate that I want to say can run for president, but honestly, like in an honest way, who has a genuine chance at even getting close? Like Bernie Sanders had a genuine chance of being president, whether or not someone like Nina Turner or AOC or somebody can really, really have a real shot at winning. I'm not, it's yet to be seen. But who do you guys think is going to be that next person? And I'm not just talking about 2024. I'm talking about 2024 and beyond.
Well, I can throw some names out there. I think Jamal Bowman is fantastic. I think Cori Bush would be fantastic. Rashida Tlaib. I mean, when we're talking 4 or 8 years ahead, I think they're all potential contenders. We could throw, of course, AOC in there as well, but who knows how that would be received by. I mean, just the amount of negativity already against her it reminds me not similar in politics, but similar in the way that Hillary Clinton was treated by the right wing. It's an onslaught. So you maybe want someone who hasn't been in the spotlight in that sense, or maybe you do someone who's already seasoned and is used to that. Maybe that is a beneficial thing. But for me, the names that come to mind: Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush. I would say Nina Turner if she had a seat in Congress. I think that would make her a little more, a more likely chance. But that's who comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I agree with those names. I think that if I had to guess, now I'm terrible at predictions, but if I had to, I would think that the next big name in progressive politics is going to be someone who isn't really a national name. They're going to kind of come out of nowhere. Maybe they're a governor. Maybe they are a state senator. It's hard to tell. I think that when you kind of come out of nowhere in the way that Bernie did in 2015 and 2016, you have that advantage because, as David was saying, with AOC, now the right-wingers have had years to pick apart every little thing that she does, try to hypocrisy burn her, and it's everything, right? And with time, that does hurt a candidate. So I think that someone who's actually going to have staying power, at least for a limited time, is going to be an unknown name. I don't know who that is, no clue whatsoever. But, maybe it's someone who is really, they start locally and they really build up from their community in the way that Bernie did. It's too early to tell, but India Walton, someone like that, I'm going to watch because 10 years, 20 years down the line, if she really sets a really strong standard in Buffalo, then, yeah, she can make waves. So it's hard to say.
So when it comes to what progressive candidate is going to be able to run, I feel like it's really going to be whoever can really reach out to African American voters. I think it's super important. I think that's the biggest deal for if a progressive wants to win. Those states pretty much all come first, and it's just to a point where if you're not the floor, I think if you want to win the primary realistically, I think the worst that you can lose is maybe to get 40% of the African American vote. But if you're getting 80-20'd, I think Bernie in somewhere like Alabama or something, I don't even think he hit 15%. So you're not even getting any statewide delegates. That can't happen because odds are you're probably not going to win states like Michigan by 30 points. So in 2016, that day that Bernie won Michigan, he was net negative on the day because I don't know if it was Mississippi or it was some state that ended up going super massively in favor of Hillary Clinton. So to me, it's just going to end up being who can be that person who is able to really get the African American community around them, because those states have a lot of delegates and they come first. Obviously there's you got Iowa and New Hampshire, but right after that, you got South Carolina, and you got Nevada, and then you've got Super Tuesday, where there's a lot of those states.